This article in this morning's Financial Times. I'm reading the paper. We're doing our show prep, and I'm reading the paper, and here's this article by Andrew Jack in London. And I should say, by the way, my brother Steve actually forwarded me a link to this yesterday afternoon. So I was surprised to see it in the Financial Times that it had actually made it to the print edition. But here it is, and this is from the front section. I think it's page 4 or 5, something like that. I cut the article out. I don't have the page number any longer, but it's right there in the front couple pages, first couple pages of today's Financial Times, which, by the way, well, sells more copies in the U.S. than they do in the U.K. Here's the article by Andrew Jack: Shock therapy, or rapid mass privatization. Shock therapy is the phrase that the Chicago boys, the Chicago School of Economics, Milton Friedman, Robert Rubin, Thom Friedman, all these guys who believe in absolutely unfettered free markets and a flat earth. These guys, BBC did a great documentary on this by Adam Curtis. It's called The Trap. 3-hour documentary. It follows on the one I was raving about yesterday or the day before, the other Adam Curtis documentary, The Power of Nightmares. Again, you can Google the thing and you can watch it on your computer. 3 hours. It only showed on the BBC. But about how these guys have traveled around the world and convinced governments to do what they call shock therapy, which is rapidly privatize everything. Do the opposite of what Hugo Chavez has done, where he said, American oil companies, you're out of here. American, whatever. We owned a bunch of companies in Venezuela. And he said, nope, sorry, you don't own them anymore. We're making them Venezuelan. But shock therapy is where you go in and you say, okay, we're going to privatize everything. We're going to do away with the social safety net. We're going to privatize Social Security, as they did in Chile. We're going to everything. Put it all in private hands, give it all to the bankers, and the people be damned. And they have this religious belief that somehow that's going to produce an economy that works. So here's the article. Shock therapy, or rapid mass privatization, in the former Soviet bloc in the first half of the 1990s was responsible for the early deaths of 1 million people that could have been prevented, according to a paper to be published in The Lancet, the British medical journal, today. People say, oh, it's just an ideology. It's just conservative ideology, after all. The deaths of 1 million people, and this is just in the Soviet Union, in the former Soviet states. An analysis of the 3 million working-age men who died across the former communist countries of Eastern Europe suggests that at least a third were victims of mass privatization, which led to widespread unemployment and social disruption. The study adds to growing research in recent years, demonstrating how far the economic transition led to widespread suffering through death and physical and mental illness. Redundancies, which is the British term for layoffs or unemployment, redundancies, particularly among the less well-educated and those without forms of social support, was one of the main underlying reasons. Which brings us back to this article that I have shared with you before from the BBC, September 18, 2002. The headline: BBC News. You don't see this stuff in the United States. You don't see this stuff in the corporate media, because the corporate media is all about shock therapy. The headline that the BBC ran: more suicides under conservative rule. That's the headline. Here's the article. The suicide rate increases under conservative governments, research suggests. Australian scientists found the suicide rate in their country increased significantly when a conservative government was in power, and an analysis of figures in the UK suggests a similar trend. The Australian team analyzed suicide statistics between 1901, when the federal government was established in Australia, and 1998. That's almost 100 years. They then looked at the political regimes dominating both state and federal governments in New South Wales, which have consistently either been under Labor or Conservative control. They took into account periods of drought and World War II because of their economic and psychological impact. After adjusting for these factors, the figures clearly showed the highest rates of suicide occurred when Conservatives were in power. Conversely, the lowest rates of suicide occurred when state and federal governments were both Labor. which we would call the Democratic Party or liberals. When the Conservatives ruled both state and federal government, men were 17% more likely to commit suicide than when Labor was in power. Women were 40% more likely to kill themselves. The authors argue that conservative rule traditionally implies a less interventionist and more market-oriented policy than Labor rule. And they go on to say, overall, this is the BBC, overall, the figures suggest that 35,000 people would not have died had the Conservatives not been in power. The UK Conservative Party refused to comment on the research. So, I mean, we're getting these articles and we're getting these stories like, isn't this interesting about the death of, there's rich people committing suicide now. Well, yeah, the toll is up to 71, I think is the number now. And of, wealthy people, you got, the German guy who slit his wrists and on and on. But no. That's not the real crime, and that's not the real crisis. The real crime is this conservative economic ideology, and the real crisis is here just, in the last decade, or the decade before this decade, 1 million people dying because of an because of a theory that Milton Friedman had. 16 minutes past the hour.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.